And today we're going to be talking about some serious issues that we need to keep in mind as parents, as leaders, as members of a church where we're trying to support those in the community, as grandparents. Because there's a quiet crisis unfolding. Not loud like a storm. It's not even obvious like a headline, but steady and subtle and spreading. And if you listen closely, you can hear it in the hearts of a generation. Anxiety, isolation, pressure. A generation that has more connection than any other before it, and yet feels more alone than ever. Listen to the words of Scripture. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. Do not be anxious. That's not a command rooted in denial. It's a command rooted in dependence. Because God knows something about us. We will anchor our hearts to something. The question is not if we will anchor. The question is what we will anchor to. We are living in what many are calling the anxious generation. And that phrase first hit me not in a book, but in a room. I was sitting at the 2025 lectureship at Harding University last fall. Just another class, just another session, or so I thought. When they opened a book, this book, The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, a book whose influence has been so widespread given that it's only a couple of years old. It was read by Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the governor of Arkansas, and she was so moved and convicted by this book that she sent copies to every governor of the other 49 states. And it's beginning to influence legislation. The statewide ban on phones in schools in Texas and other states can be credited to this book. So I'm at Harding, and they open this book, and they begin to present data, research, trends, and slowly the dots began to connect for me. Rates of anxiety rising, depression climbing, loneliness spreading, teenage suicide rates, which had been steadily declining for decades, suddenly shoot upward. And then they overlaid this sad timeline with another showing advances in our technology. And right alongside it, we got 2007, the rise of the smartphone. Our kids began to change in ways we couldn't yet understand, and the very nature of childhood began to shift from play-based childhood to phone-based childhood. For example, here's a video I found on Facebook a few days ago of two kids engaged in play-based childhood on a cruise ship in the dining room. Now, the lady who took this video and posted it, she was not very kind about those kids playing. She insisted that instead they should have been sitting in their seats with a screen in their hands, or engaged in phone-based childhood instead. Then, in 2012, the inclusion of the front-facing camera on the iPhone. And that seems like such an innocuous thing, right? When they first told me this at the lectureship, I thought, how does that have anything to do with the rise of selfies and depression, anxiety, and self-harm spiked sharply among teenagers, especially teen girls. And we, as parents, continued on as if our jobs were business as usual, while our teens saw the rise of performative identity, meaning they now began spending their time curating a life for others to view online instead of just living their lives for themselves. And in that classroom at Harding, I sat there, listening, processing, feeling something I didn't expect to feel: conviction and sadness. Because as they talked, I wasn't just hearing statistics, I was seeing faces, the faces of my girls, their struggles, their pressures, the tears that they cried that didn't always make sense in the moment, but they started to make sense to me in that room at Harding. I wept. I cried. And I remember sitting there taking notes through tear-stained eyes, thinking something that hit me hard. I did this to my own kids. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but unknowingly. We didn't know. None of us knew. We handed them a world we did not fully understand, and that moment, for me, it was eye-opening. Now let me be clear. Technology, again, is not the villain. We've said that, and we need to keep saying it. But it has created an environment, an ecosystem, where certain pressures are amplified, certain voices are louder, and certain dangers are closer than they've ever been before. And here's where we have to be honest, even if it's uncomfortable. Jonathan Haidt points out something that should stop you in your tracks. We have overprotected our children in the real world and underprotected them in the digital world. Think about it. We won't let them walk to a friend's house alone down the street. We hesitate to let them ride their bike past the end of the block. We track their location. We supervise their schedules. We cushion every fall, manage every moment, guard every physical risk. We are careful and cautious and concerned. But then we hand them a smartphone, a portal to the entire world, unfiltered, unrestricted, unrelenting. We allow access to strangers we would never invite into our house. We permit conversations we would never allow at our dinner tables. We expose them to images and ideas and influences that their minds and their hearts are not yet ready to process. And we do it early, too early, because it's normal. Believe me, I understand the pressure. As a parent, because everyone is doing it. Because we don't want our kids to feel left out. So we protect their bodies, but we leave their minds exposed. We guard their location, but not always their formation. And over time, that imbalance begins to show in rising anxiety, in fragile identity, in quiet struggles we don't always see until they're already deep. And what we've seen is the result. Let me paint the picture. A teenager wakes up. Before their feet hit the floor, their hand reaches for the phone. Notifications, messages, images. And before they've even brushed their teeth, they've already begun comparing their lives to someone else's highlight reel. Well, they look better. They have more. They're happier. And without realizing it, identity begins to shift, not formed by truth, but by trends. Proverbs 4:23 says this, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." Guard your heart. That word guard, it's active, intentional, protective, because everything flows from it. Your thoughts, your emotions, your identity. And if the heart is constantly being fed a diet of comparison and criticism and curated perfection, what do you think will flow out? Let's talk about the deeper issue. It's not just anxiety, it's formation. Because what's shaping this generation, and if we're honest, shaping us all, it is not random, it's not accidental, it is intentional, folks. Those social media platforms are not passive. They are designed carefully, strategically, and relentlessly. Algorithms are built to study you. As you're scrolling, what you pause on, what you like, what you linger over, and then they feed it back to you. More of the same, more of what stirs you, more of what keeps you scrolling just a little bit longer. Not for your growth, for your attention, because your attention is their profit. And we're not guessing about this anymore. We've seen internal reports. We've heard testimony in congressional hearings. Lawsuits have brought to light what many suspected. These systems are engineered to tap into our vulnerabilities, to exploit our emotions, to keep us engaged even when it's not good for us. They know what makes you anxious. They know what makes you angry. They know what keeps you coming back, and they keep feeding it again and again and again. And if you're not careful, if you're not anchored, if you're not aware, you won't just use the platform will begin to use you. Because every scroll is shaping something, every like is reinforcing something, every moment online is discipling us either toward Christ or away from him. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." The pattern of this world, that's what the digital age excels at. Patterns, algorithms that learn you, feed you, keep you, and if you're not careful, they begin to form you. Now let me give you an image. Imagine your heart is like a house, and every day through your phone, you are opening the door and letting things in. Voices, images, ideas, some of them are good, but not all of them. And over time, what you allow in begins to rearrange your furniture, change the atmosphere, redefine what feels normal to you. So what do? How do we protect our hearts in a digital age? I've got 2 points this morning. First, we anchor in truth, not feelings, not followers, truth. Jesus said, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Freedom does not come from disconnection. It comes from the right connection to Him. And this is where Jonathan Haidt's insights are so important, because one of the greatest casualties of the digital age is not just attention, it's relationship, face to face, eye to eye, life to life. Hebrews 10:24-25 says this, "Let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, but encouraging one another." Encouraging. That's hard to do through a screen alone. We need presence. We need people. We need community that sees us, knows us, walks with us. And parents, lean in here a moment. We have to rethink what freedom looks like. Because right now we've reversed it. We restrict real world freedoms and we release digital freedom. And it needs to be the other way around. Let them explore the real world. Let them build friendships, take risks, and grow. But in the digital world, guard it, guide it, limit it, because not everything that is accessible is beneficial. Now let me say something to our students, especially our graduates. You are not weak. You are not fragile. You are stronger than you even realize. Because you have grown up in a world that none of us fully understood when we handed it to you. A world that was designed carefully, strategically to capture your attention, shape your identity, and keep you coming back for more. And yet, you are here. You're here. Week after week, you've shown up. In your prayers, in your Bible reading, in your Wednesday night lessons, you prepared and you taught. Some of you have stood right here and preached the word. Some of you have led songs, served others, encouraged friends, chosen faith in a world full of distractions. And that matters more than you can know. Because while your generation has reflected some of our shortcomings, you have also reflected something else. A love that has been poured into you. The truth that has been taught to you. The faith that has been modeled to you from parents, from teachers, from this church family. And that gives me hope. Real hope. Because when I look at you, I don't just see a generation in crisis. I see a generation with courage, with conviction, with the capacity to live differently. Psalm 1 says that a person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season and whose leaf does not wither. Planted, rooted, anchored. That's what you can be, even in this world, especially in this world. So today, as we honor you, we don't just celebrate what you've done, we celebrate who you are becoming. Men and women of faith, followers of Jesus, anchored in truth, surrounded by community and church. Let's not just applaud them. Let's support them. Let's continue to walk with them, guide them, encourage them, because they are not the future of the church. They are the church right now. And so this morning, instead of my 3 questions and a traditional invitation, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to honor what God is doing in them, through them, and ahead of them. At this time, I want to invite our shepherds to come forward. And as they come, we're going to invite our graduates to join us on stage as well.